Hi there. I know what it is like to go through life with a disability. I also know what it is like to go through life relying on assistance from some very special people. This presentation is about what I look for in teacher aides, caregivers, companions, or support workers. Before I tell you about what I look for in support workers, I would like to give you some background. Looking at me, you would say I have a disability, but, believe it or not, I don't actually have a disability. I was born with physical impairments. My particular impairment is cerebral palsy. Unfortunately, impairments do not bode well in society built for those lucky enough to be considered to have no impairments. I'm disabled by people's attitudes towards those born with impairments, not by my impairments themselves. Anyway, when many people meet me, they are surprised that I go to university due to the fact I can't walk, talk or use my hands. Ironically, I have ended up with a Bachelor of Communications, and I am now working on a thesis to complete my Master's. For me, not going to university was never an option. Despite my impairments, I always wanted to go to university. I wanted to do everything that my able-bodied sisters and friends could do. I could not have accomplished my goal without the support of teacher aides, note-takers and support companions. Some of you might have impairments, or have a relative or a friend living with impairments. And you might be wondering what qualities you should look for in a support companion. Or maybe you are a teacher aide or caregiver and want to know if you are doing the right thing. Or maybe you are considering becoming one and want to know if you have the right skills. So, now I wish to talk to you about what makes a good teacher aide or support worker, in my opinion. I am going to refer to 5 concepts and qualities that the best support workers understand. These are commitment or context, awareness or acceptance, and respect. You may want to remember these qualities by the acronym CAR, CCAAR. The first C stands for commitment. The best support worker needs to be able to commit to the person they are working with. The people support workers work with already have things to deal with. This means that sometimes they do not need to hear about your own problems or be wondering whether or not you are going to turn up today. Supporting somebody requires commitment, so please consider whether or not you or the person you are thinking about employing can stick to this commitment. When I was in my first year of high school, a bunch of year 13 girls, who were considering being nurses, volunteered and were rostered on to babysit me at lunchtime. Half of them were hopeless, 3 were good, but 2 were outstanding. 9 years later, I'm still in contact with those 2 girls, who made my lunch times an enjoyable experience. For a minute, I would like to talk about context, which could also represent the C in my CAR acronym. Most of the time, members of the public are seeing me in my wheelchair. However, this does not mean that I'm wheelchair-bound. For example, at home I sit on the floor, and I am able to sit on a couch. I also sit in a sailboat and go sailing by myself, completely independently. I need my wheelchair, but I only need it in certain contexts. Just because those of us with impairments struggle in one area, it does not mean we are not able to achieve in a different context. This brings me to my next point, awareness, which represents the letter A in the acronym CAR. The best support worker knows that they need to get to know the person they are working with, so that they can help them accordingly. Be aware that all people with impairments will have different challenges and different capabilities. This means that nobody can give you, a teacher aide or a support worker, a plan about how to help your client. Even if you hire a support worker with 10 years experience, you or your relative or friend could be different to anybody they have previously worked with, thus need different kinds of help. Don't worry about doing things wrong. Everybody needs to go with the flow and figure out how to work together as a team to achieve whatever it is that needs to be achieved. However, I want to point out that being aware of somebody's difficulties and capabilities is not the same thing as being aware of their impairment. More importantly, I do not want you to be aware of other people's impairments. I want you to be accepting of them. The difference between awareness and acceptance was pointed out by my friends, who are protesting against an autism awareness campaign, which happens in April, known as Light It Up Blue. The problem my friends and many others have with this campaign is that it is run by Autism Awareness Australia and Autism Speaks, who both have reputations for receiving little or no input from anybody considered to be on the autism spectrum. These organizations consider autism to be a tragedy, which devastates families, and the organizations feel they need to raise awareness in hope of finding a cure. This perception leads people to think the opinions and thoughts of those with autism are less worthy because it's just the autism talking. My friends have opinions and thoughts, just as worthy as anybody else's, and they live life just like anybody else, and they don't want or need curing. For these reasons, many people are supporting a rival campaign Lighted Up Gold, a campaign run by people who are on the autism spectrum, to encourage society to accept people who are on the autism spectrum equally. I think this is true of most people living with impairments of any kind. We don't want pity and to be treated as if we are invalids. All we want is acceptance and equality. Finally, the R stands for respect. Respect is really important for everybody. You, relatives and friends should treat support workers respectfully and not treat them as slaves. Just because somebody needs a helping hand does not mean that they should take a support worker for granted and get the support worker to do tasks they are able to do themselves or be involved with. That being said, the support worker should also respect the clients and families they are working with. I'm not saying that clients and support workers have to be best friends, but I will say that they have to be able to relate to each other. If a support worker doesn't allow the person they are working with to get to know them, the person they are working with are not going to allow the support worker to get to know them, and vice versa. I know these 5 concepts do not sound like much. However, I have learnt from experience that commitment, context, awareness, acceptance, and respect are the main points of consideration I need to think about when meeting a new support worker or a teacher aide. Remember these qualities and you should feel confident being a support worker or employing one.